Hey guys, so today we'll be talking about nuclear power. It's a well-tried subject, and to most people it's basically the devil. In this day and age, nuclear power hasn't seen any growth in the West. But let me tell you a secret. Nuclear power isn't a bad thing. Let's look at a statistic. A watt is a unit of energy flow per second. A terawatt is a trillion watts. It's about as much as what goes through the US power grid at any given moment. And a terawatt for 1 hour is called a terawatt hour. Per terawatt hour made, nuclear power has the second lowest mortality after solar power. That's taking into account long-term effects like increased cancer risk. It's also the least polluting per terawatt hour. Its only pollution really comes from the curing of the huge amounts of concrete needed to make them. And that's nothing. That's peanuts compared to the billions of tons of carbon hurled into the atmosphere by burning coal and oil for power. In the last 20 years, we've seen a 50% increase in power use, and yet the number of reactors hasn't gone up since 2006. Why is that? Well, let me explain. Why don't we use them? And that's a good question. Some people say it's because the public's uninformed. Others, they say it's because of financial reasons. And today, I'll be talking about both. A couple of years ago in Germany, the government shut down the last of their nuclear fleet. I'll soon explain why. They're to be replaced with modern coal-fired power plants. This is the result of years of work done by the German Green Party. Founded after a protest at Wow against the building of another plant in the 70s, the German Green Party has been one of the loudest voices against nuclear power for decades. But why, you might ask? The Chernobyl accident is what really kicked things off into motion in the 80s. Cancer-causing detritus and fog got into the water and was spread all over Europe. It was a public health disaster. I mean, it was peanuts compared to the cancer risk caused by smog from burning oil, but it was all over the news, and nuclear power was associated with nuclear weapons back in the day, too. Still is. And worries about reactors causing nuclear weapons proliferation by spreading the technology around didn't really ease the panic either. But what really set things into a frenzy in Germany happened decades later. The Fukushima Daiichi disaster. This is the final push, the last straw for the whole country to really put all of its effort into the phasing out of nuclear power plants for good. After decades of going slow, they shut down just as many reactors in 10 years as they did in the last 40. So now there's no nuclear power plants in Germany. They all got replaced with coal and oil. I mean, is this a bad thing? Well, for starters, coal is the single most polluting fuel there is, followed by oil. This has set Germany back decades in obeying the Paris Agreement, which there will be economic sanctions if they don't obey it. Plus, it has increased their reliance on foreigners for fuel, which Europeans really don't like. Now, is this a result of a misinformed public? I think it is. I mean, your average voter is a rational, thinking person. They don't just vote for things. They vote for things for a reason. And, well, there's not really a lot of good reasons to vote against nuclear power. And so it's really down to the popular opinion on nuclear reactors, which is false. Now, this is just Germany, but Germany is just one side of a multifaceted issue all across the globe. What they do shows an example to the world of the mentality around nuclear power. Now, the other big killer of nuclear enthusiasm is the heavy cost of these reactors. And they cost a lot of money, and it takes decades to pay one off. So generally, investors will want a higher return on their investment because this thing can take up to half a century to pay off. They cost tens of billions of dollars. Now, nuclear reactors are fantastically cheap compared to other ways of generating power, given that it's the most efficient power generation system ever devised by man. But that would do little to reinsure an investor who is probably going to be in the old folks' home by the time he pays it off. What doesn't help is that it's a dying industry, and engineers are becoming few and far between, not to mention that society has lost its inertia when it comes to building these plants. Also, research groups like the military and ITER, they're poaching all the engineers for their own research. So that also drives costs up. And a lot of preparation and planning, decades of it, goes into making a reactor. You can't just build one anywhere. That's stupid and dangerous. You have to spend years inspecting the area and optimizing supply routes and figuring out how to safely transport waste, calculating risk for earthquakes and floods and whatnot, and only then will it be worth it. And even then, the government can find something new and shut it all down. So unfortunately, the nuclear technology has been stifled by financial reasons. So what can we do about it? Well, spread this video. If more people are aware of the sad state of the nuclear industry right now, they might be able to change it. I mean, awareness goes a long way to solving issues like these. Spread the good word.